Okay, it is 9:55. I had one trade with GTII, and this one worked out. I traded it well and everything. It just seems like I didn't really make as much as I feel like I should have, but at least according to the way I traded it, I did in theory trade this with a $40 risk level. I thought worst case scenario, I did take an entry right here at 946. I thought worst case scenario, it breaks the day low. We have slippage, and I'm not out until it's $3 because that could, I think, in theory happen, but maybe 350 is a more realistic level. And then I should have had twice the amount of shares. Anyway, I did trade this because this was a morning panic bounce play, and it was nice. We had like the big volume candle right here, and it was holding above the $4 level, which was nice as well. And it started the transition from, a big wick right here to a little baby channel right here that is slightly higher than this level right here. I did buy 30 shares at 419, 946. So right here, I got in at 419. And that was a pretty good entry for what it was. Sure, I could have gone in at like 413 or something, but it takes a while for the orders to get filled sometimes, and it got filled at the top of my limit when I saw that maybe it could try to reverse at this point. I did sell this one in pieces. I sold 10 shares at 948, which was right here. I sold a third of my position at 427 right here, and then I sold another at 950 right here because it was taking a while for it to break past this little range right here in the high 420s. Not to make any weight jokes, but it was just looking like it was taking a bit too long for it to get above the high 420s into the 430s and upwards. So I did sell two pieces, and that was fine for what it was. And then once it did break past this level and we got above the level, I did sell then just 5 shares because I only had 10 shares left at 443 at 951, which was right here. I sold some right here. And at this point, once it got to the point where it got above VWAP, I guess just a little, but once it was really at this VWAP point, that's always my goal to sell into. And I did sell my last piece at 951. That was also the same minute, and I got out at 440. So yeah, my best sell was at 443, and then I had that last piece at 440. It did manage to get to VWAP. Now, it did break under the trend line that I had right here with this big red candle, and then it just bounced immediately, and this is a very big move. I actually have never seen a pattern like this, so maybe this is something that I can expect to see more often. It could be something where it follows the trend line, it breaks it very briefly, not much volume, and then it bounces immediately with very little volume. I do like how the volume is, a lot less because that in theory means all the big volume, all the panic selling, all the, stop losses or whatever it is got taken out, and now I can try to bounce. So yeah, in theory I traded everything perfectly, but I just did not seem to make that much money. I guess I don't know, maybe I just should have had a larger position size, but perhaps maybe I should have considered 350 being worst case scenario, then I would have had to I've traded 60 shares instead of 30 shares. That's pretty much it for right now. There isn't anything really interesting. I mean, XCPL did do this uptrend. I was watching it, and there was a point where it looked like a baby bull flag and maybe an entry at 43, and it did get to 47, but that was very brief. I'll make an update later. I'll continue to look at GTII. Okay, it is 12:24. I haven't traded anything since the last recording, but I do want to know that now it makes a lot more sense why it feels like I just didn't make that much in that first setup. And I mean, compared to what it did later, this was a very tiny bounce. This was again something I haven't really seen that often. And if I see that again, I might be more interested in considering a buy. There was a chance where I could have taken a buy here. It was something that I've seen a lot where it has a morning panic bounce play. It breaks above VWAP, it trades back and forth, and then it makes another leg up. This is exactly what happened here. It went from the 460s to the 560s. So that's a lot in terms of percent difference. It broke this downtrending trend line here. This could have been another setup. And then at that point, I kind of lost interest in it. And it's been uptrending and everything. And I've been wanting it to do a dip towards VWAP for a while. And it looks like now we're starting to get it. We did have this attempt to break past the downtrending trend line here, and now it's selling back under, and it might actually stay under the trend line. I might be considering it for a dip buy, but I think best case scenario will be that it starts dropping like this, it holds the trend line, and then it starts to drop at like at a much more I guess sharper angle, and then that could be like a dip buy with big volume and everything, and maybe a wick to potentially show a sign of a bottom. I'll be interested if it tries to do something like that. Otherwise, this might be the only trade that I had, and I think overall it was good for what it was. There were a few setups I could have tried, but definitely a lot of things to continue looking at and learning from. It is 1:30 p.m. I had one trade with GTII, and this one did not work out, but I also traded a super, super, super tiny 10 share position size because it was just a speculative trade. It wasn't something I really wanted to risk a full $40 risk level. And this was a buy at 12.48. Why did I buy it here? Well, I thought that maybe it was making like a ugly inverse head and shoulders, a shoulder head and a shoulder, but the main reason was is that it broke this downtrending trend line over a longer period of time. It even had like a dip towards the line and it wasn't able to get below it. So then I thought maybe over an hour or so it could try to rebound and try to make a move towards the highs again, and it didn't work out. I think there's just too many heavy selling price action. It might try to uptrend later, but at this point it looks like it's just kind of chipping away. It's at 535 here, and then the lower 530s, and then it started to shift even lower to the high 520s. So that's pretty much the case with that. And I don't think I'm going to trade anything else. I have other things to do, but I want to see what I can do later once the market is closed. Okay, it is 8:02 p.m. and I'm here to call it off. Overall, I'll be up on the day $2 and 51 cents. Two trades with GTII, and the first one did work out, but compared to what I did ultimately, it was a tiny bounce, which makes sense as to why I feel like I didn't make that much here. And then I did try this dip buy, just a speculative trade with only a third of my position size. It didn't work out, and it did continue to fade off ultimately. So that was a pretty good call. It wasn't like I tried there, then I tried again, and I tried again. I keep getting burned or anything like that. I could have maybe sold better. I mean, I did break the VWAP level right here, and then it briefly came back. But the way it was looking, I wanted to, realistically avoid any potential disaster where it just breaks VWAP and it just has a big red candle and it heads much lower. So I think it was a good sell, even though it did, in theory, come back and I could have sold a bit better. In that sense, good lessons were learned. Lots of good setups. At least I tried this one right here, and this was again something new. That's pretty much it for today. I think I did better than the other day, and I have to keep going at it. Obviously, the longer this thing trades, the worse the setups are going to be, probably. So I think I am doing better in that sense. But yeah, still a lot of things I could get better at. That's all I have for today.